Welcome to the Liberated Feminine Podcast. I'm Lucy Lampe, your host, and this episode is dedicated to the father wound. Specifically, how to begin healing the father wound. And I also want to, before diving into the details in this episode, I want to preface this with a recognition that it's not about fixing something. It's not about making this wound go away and then you're going to be good and all your relationships are going to shine and blossom and you'll never have any issues receiving from the universe and there will be no more abundance blocks and you won't project anything onto your exes or men. It is a process. It is a multi-layered lifelong process, a return home, really. It is a homecoming. And so that is the very first point, actually, starting with the source. The source. What I mean by that is whether you call this God or you call this the source masculine, the divine masculine, it is the most pure, whole source of that masculine energy that is completely and unconditionally present, protective, providing for you. It's there for you. It's got you. You can soften into it. You can rely on it. You can trust it. And this is why the very first piece, the way that I see it, the way that I approach it, the way that I've experienced it, is truly to return to that source. And if you have grown up in a spiritual system or a spiritual belief system where the infallibility, or not infallibility, the fallibility, the human flaws of your human father were projected onto divine masculine, God as a father, that does a number on you. It just does. It just does. It did a number on me. Growing up thinking that this source masculine presence that loves me no matter what, supposedly, is somewhere out there watching and waiting for me to mess up something, watching and waiting for me to sin, waiting to punish me, and living in fear of Father God, rather than feeling like I can soften into him and I can trust him. And if I am going in a direction that is going to be not the best, that I can be redirected lovingly. And so there is so much in this one single part of the wound, because it is the most core part of it, that when you begin to unpack those layers, you start to see how much of a correlation there is between this God wound, we'll call it, and the masculine wound. Another piece to this returning to the source, is actually connecting with the consciousness of the Divine Mother. Because I don't know about you, but I grew up with her completely out of the picture. I think Mother Mary was the closest thing to the Divine Mother, and that was quite distorted too, as this chaste, pure, virginous woman who could do no wrong and would sacrifice anything. And so there is a lot of healing to be done there. And the more that you come into wholeness and restoration with the source mother, the source feminine, in that mother consciousness in particular, and you feel her unconditional love instead of her criticism. You feel her loving, nurturing presence instead of her watchful eye on, what you're doing wrong. When you feel her just and her nourishment, her truth, which yes can sometimes be uncomfortable. When you feel that unconditional love from her and you connect with that and you are, returning home to that, that also helps to heal this oneness, restore the oneness with God, divine masculine as the Father. So that, I would say, is the most foundational layer or level of healing the masculine wound. Second, when it comes to your father, your physical human father, It is so important that no matter how much you understand intellectually that he did the best that he could with the knowledge that he had at the time, do not justify the pain that exists in your little child, your inner child's heart. Because the truth is, we can bypass. We can so easily bypass, especially when you're at this point where, you're watching videos like this, you're wanting to understand how to heal, how to be a more integrated human being, how to be in conscious relationships, all of these things. It can be easier to just, talk your way out of the feelings and the real needs that your little inner child had. So grieving what you didn't have, grieving what you needed that your father couldn't provide, it's just a step that you cannot skip. You just can't skip it. It doesn't matter how great of a father your dad was. Even if he didn't abandon you or abuse you in any way or leave you hanging or leave you with broken promises, even if you had a really solid father, no one gets it 100%. That's just the way, it's kind of like, I'm going to go there. Our souls agree to certain experiences with our parents, with everyone in our lives. But specifically talking about the father, right? So you have particular soul contracts with your human father that were meant to amplify things that your soul is here to experience, to overcome, to learn, to integrate. And so no human person, no human father can fulfill 100% of everything that you need 100% of the time. Even if he was emotionally available and present, there is I guarantee there is some instance, there are some moments throughout your childhood that he couldn't be there for you. Maybe for the best reasons. Maybe he had to miss a really important event that you were going to because he had to provide for the family. And that was the best thing for him to do in the big picture, but that doesn't negate or invalidate the hurt. And so even that, most of us didn't have the best fathers. Let's just be real. Okay, let's be so for real. A lot of us had fathers who were in more of that distorted masculine energy, that were overpowering, overbearing, controlling, not emotionally present, disengaged, kind of aloof, things like that. Like, most of us didn't have fathers that we felt deeply connected to, deeply seen by, accepted by, loved by, held by, that we felt like, I can count on this man. Dad's got me. Few of us have experienced that. I certainly did not. And I'll be sharing more on my story and how all of this actually ties around full circle to what my kids experience in my divorce in my upcoming workshop on healing the masculine wound. So stay tuned for more details on that a little bit later in this episode. But allow yourself the space to connect with your inner child at different ages and stages, and ask your inner child, what did she need? Or he, if you're watching this, you're a man. What did he or she need that she didn't get from her dad, from her daddy, from her father? And give yourself permission and space to feel the hurt, to feel the rage, the anger, the unfairness, the grief, the sadness, the longing. This is a key part of reclaiming your heart and sealing those cracks in the vessel where you're leaking because there is something that you're not maybe even aware of, or you're afraid to look at because it's too painful. And something as simple as writing a letter to your father from the perspective of your inner child, and not giving it to him. I'm not, this is not part of the exercise. That's up to you. I'll leave that up to you if you want to do that. But Not to give it to him, but to express, to let this part of you express what she needed that she didn't get. And also, in a separate letter, acknowledging your father for the things that you're thankful for. But that's not going to really hit as deeply and as powerfully in your heart, like in the deepest part of you, without clearing out the other stuff, without getting really honest with yourself about where the gap was. And as you do this, remember that allowing yourself to tap into that pain isn't regressing or going backwards in your healing process. It's reclaiming more of your heart so that you can move forward in a more integrated, powerful, sovereign way. Number 3, rebuild safety and connection with your inner masculine. Now, as I shared in a previous video about distorted versus integrated healthy masculine, it is so important to establish this harmony between your inner feminine and masculine, where your feminine can count on your masculine to follow through on what he says he's going to do, to stay devoted to the vision while being flexible with the specifics of the plan, to not disappear when he's needed, to make promises that are actually in integrity with the vision that he is moving towards. Not to just avoid making commitments altogether so that he'll miss them. That is not integrated masculine. That is actually another way of escapism that the distorted masculine will use in order to abdicate responsibility. So the ways in which your inner masculine shows up for you in your day-to-day life is absolutely going to have an impact on how you relate to the masculine at large, how you relate to men, how you relate to the masculine in others, so that you don't find yourself in these, ego battles where your unhealthy masculine is butting heads with, let's say, your partner's unhealthy masculine because you haven't worked that stuff out in yourself and neither has he. So this concept of inner sacred union is the next step, right? Before you can truly experience this kind of divine union with a partner. When you have this within yourself, when you've embodied it within yourself, reclaimed it, taken ownership, you don't have resistance against self-discipline and doing the things that you know that are good for you. You follow through for yourself. You do things that are aligned with your values and your word. That helps you to recognize when another person who is not you also embodies that. Otherwise, it becomes this silly little song and dance of codependence, and we call it polarity. I've seen so much of this, y'all. It's just ridiculous at this point. When the concept of polarity between a man and a woman is painted as, he's always the solid, the structure, the steady one, and she's just like kind of a tornado all the time, always in her feelings. No, babe, no. You knowing how to anchor yourself in when you need it, you knowing how to take self-responsibility for your own emotional climate, environment, reactions, you taking self-responsibility for knowing and expressing your needs, fears, and desires, that is on your inner union. And this, again, another step you just can't skip. So ask yourself, am I showing up for me? Is my inner masculine showing up for me in the ways that really matter, in the ways that my inner feminine really needs? And if not, what's getting in the way? Where's the resistance point? What responsibility is my inner masculine running away from, instead of providing from a true place of service and care and devotion? Number 4, invite the Divine Father back in. When we speak of the Divine Father, right, in this space right here that you and I are in, think of the benevolent king, the fierce warrior, the fierce protector. The feeling of, I've got you. I'll take care of it. I see you. I accept you. I love you. I'm with you. Whatever you can do to soften into that presence, to welcome more of that consciousness into your day-to-day life. And it can be as simple as setting the intention when you sit to do a meditation, or when you're, sitting next to a tree or out in nature, and you just simply, literally, as simple as this, invite in this presence, this unwavering, loving presence of the Source Father. And what you'll find is that the more that you do this and you are softening to it and you're opening your heart to it, you'll begin to feel differently in your body. You'll feel it in your body. You'll feel the ease, the calmness of this peaceful presence. Sometimes it's easier to think of it as sitting with your grandpa, with an abuelo presence. Like, he's calm, he's grounded, he's anchored in, he's truthful. He's not people pleasing, he's not coddling you, but he encourages you. He's like, yes, you got this, and I'm with you, and you're doing great. And here's how you can do even better. Did you see this? Look, I made this for you. Look, I'm providing this for you. I love to see you light up with excitement and anticipation and joy. I love to see you in your exuberance, in your playfulness, in your silliness. That lights up my heart. Imagine receiving that from your human father. And you can't control whether you get that from your human father or not. But what you can consciously tap into is that depth of love from the source of this Father presence, peace, and love. And the more that you do choose to attune to that, and you choose to soften into that, and you choose to trust that, and you allow that to be a guiding voice in your life instead of a punitive voice, everything changes. And I'm not saying this lightly. I'm not. Because if you think about the nature of masculine energy and all the ways that we tap into it, all the ways that we are present with it, whether that is in our father relationship or in our intimate relationships with partners, or in the way that we parent or expect our kids co-parent to parent the kids, or in the way that we do friendships, the way that we do business, the way that we receive abundance, money, wealth, resources. The masculine is there. And we can choose to either remain curious about how we can integrate more of this into our lives, welcome more of this healthy expression of it into our lives in every area. Or we can try to turn a blind eye to it and say it really doesn't matter, or, well, I'm not looking for a relationship right now, so masculine energy is, secondary to what I'm focusing on. But it's just a part of life. It's something to accept and acknowledge. And fundamentally, without addressing the father wound, everything else is going to be touched, impacted, affected. So if you're ready to begin, or maybe continue and deepen this journey of healing the father wound, which is really about just more masculine integration and not about fixing, then remember the 4 points in this video and decide on which actionable things you can implement into your life. Whether that is just having the intention at some point in your day to welcome in this sacred, protective, loving, pure, peaceful, masculine presence, and just opening your heart to that. Or writing a letter from your inner child's perspective, or writing a letter to your inner child from your current perspective. So whatever that may be, let your inner masculine guide you in that and follow through with that decision. And to join me for more on healing the masculine wound, healing how you relate to men and reconnecting with that inner masculine in you, then join me for my workshop that's happening on Saturday, June 21st. It is the summer solstice weekend. So as some of you may know, the sun is associated with the divine masculine, with masculine energy. And this is the peak of it. Through the whole year. This is the peak, the summer solstice. So this is a powerful energy that we're going to be working with and tapping into. And if you can't make it to the live workshop, then the replay will be available to you if you sign up at any point. So again, always encourage you to join live if you can for the Q&As and the live practices and all of that. But either way, you can have access to the replay. So for that, check out the link in this description. Or you can comment that you want more details on this by just simply commenting the word king, and I'll share the link with you. Otherwise, thank you for joining me for this episode. And until next time, here's to liberating your wild feminine heart.